Okay, so thank you for joining today's call. Today's topic is going to be about creating and setting permissions in the Marketing Center platform. Let's get this presentation started. Like I previously said, creating and setting permissions. On today's agenda, we'll be covering the basics from users and how users are created and managed by the account admin, as well as permission groups and the ability a user has to create set permission groups and what those entails particularly, as well as covering the basics of editing permission groups once they've been created, and lastly but not least, permission management and how we can basically set up different users to have different permissions or limitations inside the platform. Okay, so jumping to so basically this is what our Marketing Center homepage looks like at this point. I believe we're fairly familiar with what the Marketing Center homepage looks like. Today we're going to be working on another scope of the platform, which is the Account Center. You're gonna want to go to the top right and click on the drop-down menu right here where it says Account Center. That's the scope of the platform we're going to be working on today. Okay, so basically, like I was saying, we're going to cover users and permissions. Permissions are basically allow the administrator to ensure that each user only accesses what they need to access. The administrator can access the permission settings right here in the Account Center, and using the User Center side of the Account Center, which is right here to the left-hand column. And if you click on the User Center, you'll see that right here in the middle of the screen, under Groups, you can see the available permissions, the groups that are matched by colored squares next to the group names. So basically, these are the presets that we gave our partners the ability to use, which are Site Administrator, Email Only Access, Site Content Manager, Sales Rep, Customer Service Rep, and Sales Manager. Basically, to simplify the permission groups, you can say that the Site Administrator is the top level permission group. It has access to all aspects of structure purchased by the company. The email access only, as its name implies, allows the user access to their email account and nothing else. The Site Content Manager is able to access the Site Center, Customer Center setup, Product Center setup, and Service Center setup. The primary purpose of this permission group is basically creating and maintaining the business's website. The Sales Rep is able to access the Site Center, the Customer Center setup, the Product Center setup, and the Service Center setup. And basically, the primary purpose of this permission is creating and maintaining the business backend setup issues. The Customer Service Rep basically has the access to the Service Center. This user will be able to access and manage service calls and does not need access to the CRM or website management. And the Sales Manager, lastly, has access to the Customer Center, Marketing Center. This permission group is very similar to the Sales Rep position, except that the Sales Manager has more freedom to customize the system using the Customer Center setup. Okay, so let's just cover the basics of how we can add a new user. We can go to the Add New User right here and create a username. So for the purpose of this training, I'm just going to use my website and set password to password 1. First name Eduardo, last name Carcamo, and let's just leave the phone number blank for the purpose of this training. Okay, so in step 2 is what I want us to make reference to. Is basically we select the user's group permission, or basically we can select how much access we want this particular user we're created to have inside the platform. So for the purpose of this training, let's just set me up with sales manager and sales rep permissions. And the manager will, by default, always be the site admin, the account admin, I mean. And add a user, let's just use my say email here again. Okay. And click update. My mistake. Now we can see that the user has been created inside the account with the permissions we wanted the user to have. Okay. Now we can cover the second part of permissions, and that is setting up our own permission groups. So for example, if we feel or the partner feels that the default permission groups given by us do not cater to their specific needs, we have the availability of the function to create our own groups, our own permission groups, and we can do so by clicking group setup right here. So as you can see, we have the default groups, and we can access which user is nested in each specific permission group, as well as adding a completely new permission group that, let's just name it test permission for the purpose of this training. Okay, now that test permission is created, we have the ability to select the group's access right, basically giving him or granting him access to the different scopes of the platform. In this case, such as the marketing center, customer center. Let's just give ourselves marketing center and service center access. Step 3, you can change the group's permissions if desired. So basically, a permission is the different types of accessibility or access a user has inside the platform. So for example, you can see that each permission has a small or brief explanation. We have a bunch of them. So I do recommend reading through them on your own carefully, just so you can see the scope of the permissions that are available to you, or to the partner to use. So for example, we can see that the first one says, view and add individual calendar entries for users that report to you. Allow users in this group to view and add new calendar entries for users that report to them. So let's just click on that one for the purposes of this training. And lastly, you get the option of categorizing this new permission group with a specific color of your choosing. So let's just go with pink for this one. And we click update. And you can see now that if we go back to our user setup, the new permission group that we just created with the specific permissions has now been added to the group permissions. It's also good to keep in mind that a partner admin has the access to actually go inside each individual permission groups and check or uncheck any permission or any part of the site that they wish that permission group to have, or that will affect all the users added to a specific group. Okay, so I think this training was particularly short. I'm not sure if there's anything else you need me to cover. If not, it's always good to remember that if you need any additional help, you can contact us at service@structureweb.com, as well as the phone number listed below. Oh, we also have an online support center, which is support.structureweb.com, that have a bunch of product walkthroughs that can basically detail in a much more in-depth way what we just talked about in this training today. We also have a chat that is 24/7 that can be accessed through the support.structuralweb.com site. And I think that is it for this training. Thank you very much, and I hope you all have a good day.